Hey everybody, welcome back. Okay, so for our final sort of leg of this whole discussion, which by the way, yeah, exactly. I was thinking about this today, and it was like, this is like why this podcast exists for me. It's because of the discussion we had at the end of remake, between us. It's like that's what when I thought about doing the podcast. It's like, because I want to talk like that about games, the way we talked about remake at at length. So I was just thinking about that today. It was like, yeah. So this is for sure a multi-parter because we're covering everything.
And just to kind of add to that, I feel like when you came to me in, I guess, like the 2022, like late, Christmas 2022, I'm like, hey, we should do a podcast, and like talk about games. And the immediate like format that came to mind was when you and I talked about the ending of remake. And to be honest, like that kind of sparked a lot of our gaming conversations, because like I remember I was like in the basement, like I feel like I'd literally rolled credits and called you.
Yeah, because I told you you have to. I was
Call
like,
me,
literally call me the second you finish.
Yeah. And I remember like I have this vivid memory of being in the basement, kind of put my PS4 controller down and calling you, and we talked for like hours. And then it was like, oh, let's talk more about games and stuff.
Sure.
And then so I feel like it wasn't right after, because like I mean that was 2020, right?
Yeah.
Like so I mean it was a while of doing that.
I feel like that made us do the like Christmas call to talk about all the games we've been playing for the year. Like I feel like that made us do that more at least in depth. Like we had longer phone calls for that kind of thing. So it all comes back to FF7.
It all really does. And it's funny because I remember like being like overwhelmed because you had like beaten it so far and I had just beaten it. Like, so there's like multiple timelines and like the whispers are like fate, plot ghosts. And I was like, what? Plot ghosts? Like, oh yeah, I guess they were kind of dictating the flow of the OG game. Like me just realizing that.
In retrospect, because we talked about for this game, I was like, I'll give you a couple of days to digest because I feel like I didn't give you that chance at all with remake.
You're like, so you know what the whispers are, right? They're essentially flowing through the original timeline of the OG game. It's like, oh, I guess that is it. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I fought Sephiroth.
that was when I had like just gotten like laid off at work for like 2020 reasons. So I had I was essentially on vacation, and I platinumed that game in a week. And so I'm just like, I need to talk about this. But anyway, so I gave you at least 2 days to digest what you experienced this time.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. But yeah, it is funny that remake is the archetype that I think of. Remake being that of this podcast. So
same. Because that's like the types of conversations I wanted to have more of when I was thinking about doing the podcast. So because I think I said it before, I try to talk about this stuff with people at work, and they're like, "Yeah, so Rocket League though," and I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I can't do this." So anyway, nothing against Rocket League. I just not gonna have an in-depth lore discussion about that game. Okay, so we're going in. If we've spoiled some things up to now, but we're going like all the way to the end for this discussion. So final warning on that stuff for anyone that doesn't want to know yet or is waiting to play the game themselves. Just briefly before we get into the actual ending, that final dungeon was so like, again, unsettling. Like the music was great, but it was kind of a creepy version of the Temple of Angels music. And it's like, again, it's like this thing is looming over you. You're getting, and you had a version of that in remake when you enter Shinra Tower, where you're like, but it's like the looming thing is like, oh, the game's almost done. Like that's the thing that's looming over you. This is like that. Like, oh man, we know this is the ending of the game. Like it's, you know, they've said it goes to the Forgotten Capital and that's it. But also, I'm pretty sure Aerith is dying soon, and like that hurts, and they make you play as her for a chunk of, you know, for a chunk of that final dungeon. And we mentioned that part when you get to like the trials they all go through, which are all just fucking brutal. Like
gut punch. That was a gut punch gauntlet, is what that was.
When you're like running around as like little Aerith.
No, don't even talk about it. No, that was a
complete.
It's awful. Yeah.
And then when Cloud's just like, yeah, are you done? Can we continue now? And just like that hurts so much. Like Cloud is so fucked up at this point in the game. Like it just kills me.
Oh man. Like, oh, you know Aerith's about to get murdered. Why don't you walk around with her as a child asking to beg for help for a doctor for her dying mother? Like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah, exactly. Just like that was, I was walking around and like I couldn't quite figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. And I was just like, fuck you, Square Enix. Like you're playing with my emotions. I don't know what to do. This child Aerith kills me every second she's on screen. Her mother is fucking dying, and like Ifalna's like one of my like new favorite characters. Like anyway, I was just like, fuck this game. This game this is my trial. You know.
So yeah, that whole sequence, and then, you know, I definitely felt bad for Aerith when, like, because I forgot Sung gets, I think he dies. I don't think he comes back later in
I can't remember.
And he's definitely not in Advent Children, and the rest of them are.
True.
So I think he actually dies here, at least in the original. Maybe it changes, but like I felt really bad because like Aerith just, obviously, like they're always after her, but like I feel like she has some sort of like, you know, almost paternal relationship with him, like because like, you know, he's known her since she was little or whatever, and he is very protective of her whenever they're like trying to capture her. Like he's always like, don't hurt the ancient or whatever, and like, you know, it's like he's still an awful human being, but you definitely feel bad for her in that moment.
It's almost like a bit Stockholm syndrome-y, like
kind of, yeah.
But it's a little more than that. Like he's not just kidnapping her and she's delusionally caring for her kidnapper. He is also protective of her.
Yeah.
Half because it's his job, and I think half because I think there's a little bit of empathy for her. But as far as the Turks go, Sung is the most
like redeemable, maybe, or
redeemable. Yeah.
So yeah, that was, I forgot that happened here, and like until like a second when Sephiroth showed, like oh wait, yeah, he dies. It was like like a second before it happened, I remembered.
I remember it was such like I feel like I realized it 1 second before his sword went through.
Yeah, same.
And like he does such like a badass entrance. Like it's something Sung is like asked a hypothetical question and Sephiroth answers it. It's like, who said that? Anyway, I remember there's like, wow, that's a fucking entrance. So
then I kind of, so first of all, I like that they moved the Temple of the Ancients into the north. Because in OG it was weird that you were like in that southern peninsula, as that's where the temple was. And then Aerith just made it to the Forgotten Capital up north by herself. You know?
Exactly.
I like that they moved it there. It made way more sense. And then it helps you sort of like truncate that part a little bit, where right after the black materia situation and like Cloud, loses it or whatever. Like you go through that, you're like following her through the forest and stuff, and like that was really like hard just because I know it's coming, right? Like it's more obvious by the minute that it's coming. And then, man, that sequence where you're like dating, you're on a date with her in that like other weird, like in a dream state, and you're like going on this date with her there. There's like a moment. This is when I was already emotional, but I absolutely broke down when. So you're with her in the church, and she gives you the holy materia or whatever.
Yeah.
The filled in, like the used, like the usable one.
Yeah.
And like wants you to take it to like, the other era.
Another timeline or whatever. Yeah.
And
this is after, like, this is in like after death kind of thing. Is this pre? Oh, yeah, okay.
Because they have that moment in the church, and like she hugs you or whatever, and she's like, you have to go, and it like you see like behind her Sephiroth coming in the church.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Creep, like just entering the scene, and like she's not behind her back or whatever, and it's just like the most like foreshadowy thing ever. Like that's when I was like, okay, she's dying, like 100% she's gonna die. And that broke me when I saw Sephiroth coming in, walking in the church like that. It just I was such a mess. And just that whole sequence when you're on a date with her and like Cloud's kind of trying to understand what's happening, but she's just like, don't worry about it, like we're just having our date or whatever. And that just set you up for the 1-2 punch
when they're like posing, like when you pick the different poses. Oh fuck, that was adorable. I was just like, I know it's coming, so I'm just gonna do this pose and 1, 2, 3 and start back at 1 again, and I'm gonna do this for 5 minutes because I don't want to move on. And
so I don't remember exactly, like, if I think that's when like Cloud wakes up, and then you go with everyone through that forest area or whatever. And then you get to the Forgotten Capital. I like that they sort of recontextualized him almost hitting her. And in this one, it's like he's trying not to hit her. He's like fighting the Whispers rather than fighting Sephiroth. Sephiroth almost like trying to make him attack her. So I kind of like that they worked that into this. And then you fucking, the game makes you think for a second that like, wait a second, like he actually. And I've watched that scene many times at this point because I've watched some reactions of people that have gone through it. And the fucking music when he sees when Cloud sees Sephiroth coming down and kind of snaps out of it and like, shouts and tries and goes to block his sword. When you're just like the zoom in back and forth between like Cloud's eyes and Sephiroth's eyes, and he just looks like he's like hungry for, like, he's just looking at you as like he's so excited about what he's doing. And the music that's playing during that sequence is like awful. Like it's so like just terrifying and unsettling or whatever. And then you hit the sword away for a second, and then glitching out. And like the blood
on the ground.
Oh my god. I mean, it's no secret that I was gonna cry when this happened. I did set up my webcam and stuff to record me playing this sequence, so I've posted that for anyone that wants to see just how fucked up I was during that.
It was so awful. It's coming. It was just terrible.
So wait, finish your thought first.
It's like, is he gonna stop it? It's like, and he stopped it. It's like, fuck no. And it's like, maybe in that timeline, but that timeline's doomed anyway. So anyway, I feel like there's some in the current timeline, it's close but no cigar kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just want to talk quickly about like the boss sequence, and then we'll go into like, more of like that scene and what that, the ending means and things like that. But yeah, so of course you get the second the materia hits the ground, her theme starts playing, and you go through that range of emotions.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
And he gives like a very similar speech. Not well, the first part of it is different because he's talking about worlds converging and stuff, but he like calls him a puppet or whatever, and that's very iconic. And then Genova fight, Aerith's theme, like during that fight, and I'm just like, fuck.
That was another like fuck this game, fuck everything about this game. Why am I playing this game? Like, I hate this game. I hate Genova, I hate Sephiroth, like all this stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So just that gauntlet of fights was so insane because so you do the Genova fight starting, and then you get like the multi-part Genova fight, which is very reminiscent of Northern Crater moment where you're like party up here, party up here, party down there. And then just the transition between those each time one party like does their, finishes their fight was so fucking cool. And you get that like super anime, like I think it was like Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett. They like, they're all like fighting Genova while they're falling, and like they all like power up a big attack and go at the same time. And I just remember that whole
like, shooting in like a circle and all the kind of orb things, whatever.
And like I feel like every character had a moment where they're just all like it was very Advent Children, style action sequence. And then I think is it from there you go right to like I know he's Bizarro Sephiroth in the original game. I forget what they call him here.
Reborn, I think was.
I think you go right into that fight.
I can't remember.
I can't remember the sequence of it. I think you do that fight as the party first, or just Cloud. There's a solo Cloud part.
And a party part and a Zack part.
With that version of Sephiroth. I think it's the Cloud part first. And then it's the party.
I remember that wasn't too bad. I felt like I breezed through those parts. That
do the hard mode version.
Yeah, I was about to say a normal mode. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, like it was chaotic and everything, but yeah, definitely doable. And just fucking cool to see that. I did not expect to see that version of Sephiroth in this game,
that was
right?
Awesome.
I definitely was thinking that was part 3. Which we know now, like, we're gonna see the most epic version of Safer Sephiroth in part 3 now. Like, guaranteed. If it was already, you kind of would expect that already, but since we got this version in the second game, we'll get that version in the third game.
And also it was Genova. I think Life Clinger was the name. I was like, fuck you. I was like, fuck you, Genova. Fuck you, Square Enix. Fuck all of you. Yeah, exactly.
And so I think it was Cloud solo fight, then party fight, then Zack solo fight with Bizarro Sephiroth or whatever he's called.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you went back to the party. I don't remember the sequence, but just all that jumping around, like between dimensions you're fighting. And I feel like we made a joke, like a very offhand joke about synergy attacks, where like a Cloud and Zack synergy attack would be like him hitting them in back and forth through dimensions. And I remember thinking about that, like, hey, we were close. It's like that kind of happened, I guess.
Yeah, seriously. I'm really worried about. I mean, I'll have gotten a lot more experience in hard mode by the time I get to that gauntlet. Not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm just saying, like, I fucking struggled at 2 very, like, anything with Kate Sith. I mean, my materia loadout I was essentially using them as experience or AP farms of
like
just
put
like
the
just
AP up and something on him.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, I'm too lazy to actually care about making every character have a good build kind of
Sure.
thing. Like I'm just kind of like I'm kind of just cruising through the game, and I just use Tifa and Barrett and Cloud the way I want them to, and everyone else can just have materia in their slots to gain AP
Sure.
along the way. Um, and so Kate Sith, I never paid any attention to any of his stuff, and he was so useless in these fights, so freaking useless. And I was like, oh, I had a revival on him, so I guess he can kind of help keep people alive. But yeah, I struggled on that. I saw that cutscene of them all like kicking Genova in the face like 20 times because I just kept dying at that scene.
So
But anyway.
I kind of screwed myself over. I was pretty good at like giving everyone like a pretty variable, like a viable loadout. Because I throughout the game I switched my party a lot just because I had
Really?
fun. Like it was they all felt so unique to play. Kate Sith I probably spent the less because I just couldn't play him well.
Yeah.
But like I would constantly switch party members in, so I would have like decent material, and I would switch a couple around. But
Yeah.
I had a decent enough loadout for all of them. But I didn't go back to his equipment when he rejoins your party,
Oh,
and
okay.
he had nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't go in, so he had no materia at all. And this on the norm, like my first playthrough. But so it's like, okay, he's kind of useless, but like my other two have like a
Hopefully
good enough
can figure this out.
loadout.
Yeah.
So that one was fine. I remembered that for hard mode to make sure I loaded him up because everyone had something.
Yeah. But anyway, so I remember that being harder than it should have been.
Yeah.
Loved the Zack and Cloud fight. That was I wished I died at that a couple of times because I just really enjoyed
sure.
And they had a synergy attack that you could
I was like, give me the double buster sword. You fucking do it. Because that was one thing I know we had like when we were talking about synergy attack predictions like a while back. That was one where like double buster sword, fucking do it. Give him the buster sword. He didn't do it. I was like, okay, I'm greedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was still sick that they had the synergy attacks at all, and I think I had the buster sword equipped at this point in the game.
Oh, did you? Okay, nice.
Because for a couple of the passives it had or something, so it was pretty fucking cool to have him and Zack both, using buster swords.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then I think it's after that one. I think it's that, and then it's the Zack solo fight
on Sephiroth Reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it's hard to remember. You're bouncing between timelines and
because I feel like the reveal of Zack was when you're with Cloud, and that's like holy shit, like this is happening.
That's true. That's true.
So that's why I think Zack was after that, and then it's like Cloud and Aerith versus like normal Sephiroth.
That was fucked. Because I kept like dominating, and then he like does the whisper, spinny move, and then completely cheeses you out on like a, and I was just like, what the fuck?
So I think you have to attack his wing when he's doing that move.
Oh, okay.
And I think that like knocks him out of it. There's a move he does that you have to like target his wing and
because I know
like stun him.
He does like a tornado thing and he attack his Masamune, and so then that can at least pressure him.
Yeah.
And then there is another move where you attack his wing, but
maybe it's not that one then. I know. I just remember you have to attack his wing at one
something point. Else. Okay, yeah. So I should anyway. Again, I was just
emotionally wrecked.
Yeah, I was not thinking straight. It was Sunday late night. Anyway, I ultimately had to like, and even like Aerith's like second limit wouldn't protect you from that. So I was like, well, that didn't work. So I just like needed to like Cloud Ascension, have it ready to go. get his health down as much, as I can until I think he's gonna, one hit kill me, and then, use my limit and kill him, and then that's the only thing that worked. So, but I was like, fuck this game. Like, seriously, I feel like I'm at the end here. I've gone through like 20 boss fights so can I just fucking finish this game?
Yeah, they definitely make you work for it with that gauntlet.
Yeah.
Which is like, when you like look back at it, it's like, that was fucking cinematic as hell. Like, what a way to, and like I feel like they won up the end of Remake, which was already insane.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like the theatrics of that gauntlet.
Oh yeah. And at one point you fight like a whisper version of Bahamut.
Oh yeah, he's the one assess target I still don't have because I forgot. Even on the hard mode, I forgot. And so I haven't. And if I want to do it, I have to do the whole Temple of the Ancients again. So I'm just like, it's fine. I don't need it.
I forgot. I did not get it on the normal, so I don't have that, and I don't have, for whatever reason, the like Valkyrie thing that you fight. I just fucking forgot. I think I was loving the music too much. Yeah. Anyway, those are the two ones I'm still missing. I'm sure some combat simulator ones I'm gonna have to get, but anyway, yeah.
Well, and you don't have to get every single assess target for any trophy, so that's why I'm just like, I'm not gonna. I don't want to do it like. I don't want to do it a third time just for that, because I don't want to like. I don't want to make that part less fun when I revisit it later by having to do it too many times. I don't want to burn out on that whole sequence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just leave it. I got my trophies, and there's like a couple of those play log things that I didn't get, but it's fine. I did all of that for Remake because the game was only like 40 hours long.
Yeah.
Getting 200 hours in the game, like, I'm good, I think.
I think I'm good for now.
I think I got what I wanted out of this.
Yeah.
So anyway, that boss fight sequence was super fucking cool. So let's get into the juicy bits. So I've had a lot more time to think about this. And Max was on Easy Allies spoiler mode podcast, which was 4 hours long, and I watched all of it.
Oh wow.
So which I'll send you the link actually, because it'd be good to, you probably would like listening to that too. So tell me what you think of those last, both the Aerith scene, like the death scene, and some of the weird stuff that happened like after the boss fight and stuff. Like, I want to know where you're sitting first before I start unloading all my notes on you.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I guess like multiple timelines kind of going on, and it's kind of nice because like I feel like I wouldn't be able to handle this kind of narrative if it wasn't for kind of like all the like Avengers Endgame multiple timelines stuff. It's like, okay, I kind of get the whole multiple timelines thing because Hollywood movies kind of that's been their thing, the last like 5. So it's like, okay, I can better understand how this works. Anyway, there's like, and so based on stamp, there's like the Beagle stamp, there's the Terrier one, there's like the other one, and so that kind of helps to be my which timeline are we in. So it's not just 2 timelines. There's kind of there's at least 3, and like to me, and this I don't know for certain, but I mean, are there right answers or just theories or whatever? But like I feel like Sephiroth is not only like, I'm gonna damage the planet and absorb all the life stream energy. It's like, I'm gonna absorb the planet in every world possible, and be a god of every universe. Like he's almost kind of just like, you know what? That I was thinking too small previously. Now, like this is what I want. And
I would agree with that. It's almost like he knows that didn't work. So okay, well then I'm just gonna absorb everything.
Yeah. So kind of wanting to, and it's kind of my little theory here is kind of like, it's not just reunion in the reunion of Genova cells, and it's the reunion of
all the
worlds,
yep.
and things like that. So it kind of has almost a bigger meaning here.
Yep.
So reunion, homecoming, bringing, kill this world, kill that world,
yep.
just all this energy that I can absorb. So kill that world, absorb. I don't know if it's so much like kill that world, absorb the energy, kill that one, or bring them all together. Anyway, whatever. He wants to be absorbing, ruling, whatever over it all.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Yeah, so there's like one timeline that Zach.
I'll
Go
say
yeah.
So one, to sort of reinforce your point on that, his speech after he kills Aerith and the party gets there and sees that that she's dead or whatever. He says something like, it begins or whatever, like a confluence of worlds and emotions, lost chief among them. So it's like he's going to all these worlds to generate as much pain for everyone as he can, because for some reason, like, that's one of the ways he gets his power or something. And so it's like that's why he's so happy when he's gonna kill Aerith, because he knows this is a thing that breaks all of the party, and this is gonna bring the most amount of loss, and that the most heightened version of that emotion, and like that's what feeds him for whatever reason or whatever. So it kind of it goes along with that, like he's just trying to fuck up all of these worlds, because that's how he gets more power somehow.
No, perfect. Yeah, exactly. So like there's one time, like the Terrier timeline, in which Zack survives, but all of the heroes are dead. And the sky is clearly indicating that world is dying. And so, and he's kind of realizing that a bit, like, oh, this everyone's like, oh, the world is ending, and so like there's that timeline. What else? Then there's also like Aerith kind of has a timeline in which she was, like I don't know what the type of dog it is, but the third stamp, where her dream, kind of thing with Cloud, and it's almost like she's in that. So to jump around a little bit, I feel like kind of like okay, so there's kind of like there's a world where she lives and she dies, or sorry, it's a timeline in which she's alive and which she dies.
Sure.
And I think like in the one where she lives, the holy materia is empty.
Like in the game we're playing.
Yeah. And then like when she dies, the white materia is still active, and like she's just kind of trying to like get the materia that still works into a timeline in which like I'm dead in that timeline, but you need to get this,
and like the world is gonna die. Like it's like we can't save this world with the whole, like, the materia is not enough to save this. It's not meteor that's coming. It's like the world is tearing itself apart or something.
Exactly. So like I've got an active holy, but it can't solve that problem.
Right.
So like you need to go to a timeline in which meteor will be the problem.
Right.
And it can save that, but the materia in that timeline is bogus, or not bogus, dead.
So
or
you know what? You know why I'm pretty sure it's empty.
Why?
So she talks about very early when you're in like calm, talking to Tifa. She talks about how the whispers like stole her memories.
Okay, yeah.
And there's someone at some point talks about how materia is like formed by memories of the ancients or whatever.
Yep.
And so it's like Sephiroth's whispers essentially like tried to like de-weaponize her materia by stealing her memories. And that's why it's empty.
That's a cool point. And especially like it's Sephiroth kind of trolls Cloud for not knowing that in the flashback of just like, what is materia anyway?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's the memories of the Cetra and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that a lot actually. And so especially because Aerith kind of it seems like she does not have the clairvoyance kind of powers that she had in Remake. Like
because she like had it all taken away from her by those whispers. I think
like
that's what I think.
I think so, because she talks to Red about that, where she's like, and she kind of alluded to it in Remake as well. Like every time they
like I lose a part of me or something. Yeah.
I think they just kind of did a number on her in the final sequence, and now she's no longer, and so maybe it's been drained that way. So she's kind of like, look, okay, there's a timeline in which it's fine, and so I need to get that materia back into a timeline where it can make a difference, kind of thing. So because she kind of gives Cloud, does she give it to him before she pushes him through? And anyway, not 100% sure on like it's the black materia later. But
no, because I think he doesn't. Does he not give it to her when he's like following her through the forest?
I can't remember.
He gets it to her somehow. I forget
exactly. But then like she drops it, but it's active, and it's, I mean, that's what it saved the planet last time. And
when she dies, like, because she had it then, right? Like, so Cloud got it to her. I think it was in that forest sequence, but he gets it to her from the other Aerith, basically, to help save the planet or whatever.
So what else do I have here? And then like Zach's just cruising through timelines.
I still don't fully understand where that's leading. And like I think he's back in that like timeline where Biggs was in the broken world. But he alludes,
like how much more Zach could it be where it's just like, I don't know, where am I going next?
He alludes that like maybe they can rejoin, like, he like remembers what Sephiroth said or whatever. It's like, what's to say they can't join again someday or whatever. So
I also love just like he's just like, save Aerith or save Biggs, like literally very very Marvel-esque, like, or no, sorry, not very Community-esque, of just like, you are creating two different timelines here right now, by literally thinking about these decisions. I thought more about Community than I thought about Marvel movies. Made 5-6 different timelines, which is the real timeline, which is the Britta coloring her, streaking her hair timeline,
the darkest timeline,
which is the darkest timeline. Anyway, so one question I have for you, and if this is a stupid question, I apologize, but so like, let's say in the Terrier timeline,
which is the one we're playing through. No, which is the one where Zach survives.
Yeah. So like, I'm just a little confused because like, so Zach is coming back with Cloud, and then he survives the onslaught from the Shinra forces, kind of thing. But like that event is well before the like fight with the arbiters of fate kind of thing. So that's where I'm just a little confused.
So that I think is just like, time works differently, or there's like some delay between dimensions or something where that happened now, but it happened 6 months ago in his timeline or whatever.
Okay,
that's as much as I would understand it.
I'm gonna say, like, maybe in the Terrier timeline it took Zach and Cloud an extra year to get to Midgard, or there something. Could be,
exactly. I think I think it's just, that's true, because like Tifa and Barrett and Red were all fighting because they died in his timeline. So it's like, I think it's happening at the same time in terms of that, or maybe it's just, I don't know. I think it's either that they got held up in Zach's timeline longer for whatever reason, or their plans went faster because Cloud wasn't there to, help or whatever.
Yeah. And the kind of like the event that killed all the characters is like the explosion of defeating the Arbiters of Fate.
Because you see in their timeline on that news shot, there's like those big tornado things that rage through or whatever. So
so I was just like, I'm pretty sure that's it, or is it like the meteor stuff? And it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. The meteor was just like a vision in the Shinra building.
I think so.
I guess my question was, why is Midgard destroyed? And it's destroyed because of the Arbiters of Fate fight.
And then I guess that rippled maybe through like the timelines and did more damage to the other worlds than it did in the one that they originated or something. TLDR is, I don't think we know. I don't think we know a proper answer to that, but that's just my best guess.
Yeah. So anyways, okay. So I was just a little bit like, oh, here we have like Cloud with his non kind of steampunk uniform, like proper Shinra uniform. And so I was like, oh, so let's say it took, just in the Terrier timeline, took them a little bit longer to get to Midgar. And
could be
when they got like there, big, they Arbiters of Fate sent a ripple throughout the entire multiverse. And okay. So so then Zach and Biggs are, so Biggs is alive, but only in the Terrier timeline, do you think?
In like the destroyed world one or whatever.
Because I remember like in the ending of Remake, he was like in the bed, but did he open his eyes or anything?
It was like he was alive at the end. Like it was clear that he lived.
In the end of the doomed timeline, or do you think he's alive?
So I'm assuming, because he even says like, I'm not from this world, because he knows Cloud. When he's talking to Zach. So it's like there's that point where he said he was like dying in the pillar, and it got really windy or whatever, and all of a sudden everything was fine. And so it's like he got like shifted to this broken world.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Because he's like, oh yeah, Cloud, great guy. That's true. So he got blown into the Terrier timeline, I guess. And then like he's just like, I'm not as important as the non-NPC players, and then like it's shot immediately. That was heartbreaking, but kind of funny. It's like, this is in the doomed timeline. I'd made my peace with him dying long ago, I guess. He's just eating chips, making shitty bombs, and like whatever. It's like, Biggs is kind of useless in this timeline. I feel like he's like, I'm on borrowed time. I don't really care anymore.
Sure.
Anyway, so Zach's in this world of a doomed timeline, and then like, how does he get? What happens for him to go into another timeline?
I think he like followed Sephiroth into the church or something. You mean like at the end, like when he goes to fight Sephiroth?
I guess like that's kind of another question of just like, so what's Zach's okay, so Zach is bringing Cloud back to Midgar. Big explosion, kind of it survives the onslaught from the Shinra people, and then okay, I'm still alive, great. He gets into Midgar, goes to the church first, or like sees Kyrie, sees Elmira, like what's his chronology there.
So yeah, you definitely see him at the church, and when he sees all the injured people. So I'm assuming he dropped Cloud off somewhere, and then saw the church, and then like, what the hell's going on? And then went into like where everyone was watching the news or whatever to find out, and then sees the camera and sees the people, Aerith on the TV or whatever.
Yeah, I guess like maybe gets into town. Hey, Kyrie, look after Cloud. Goes to the church, then like finds Aerith. After in the sequence.
I think so. Yeah.
Something like that. And then like, okay, I've got Aerith, I've got Cloud. I'm gonna bring them both to Elmira.
He brings them to like some little shack that he's just sort of hiding in, and then Elmira comes and finds him. So yeah, we don't really see exactly how he reconnects with her.
Because then eventually he's like in the church where he finds Sephiroth, I guess. I'm just wondering at what point does he go back to the church?
So I don't know too much about his timeline at all.
Yeah,
I feel like they didn't answer a ton for that. So I think that is stuff that we'll find more about in the next part. Because it's very few, like it's not super laid out. I don't find, which is probably intentional. But I don't know the exact timeline of that.
And then like my only other notes are just like, are the Black Whispers kind of like no longer the like plot ghosts of OG FF7, but they're like
Sephiroth's minions now.
Yeah, and then the white ones are kind of like Aerith's fate, or
I think they're either like Aerith or the planets.
Planet, okay,
it's like one of those.
And so it's kind of like the fate that Sephiroth wants, or the fate that Aerith, the planet,
right?
I feel like the Venn diagram overlap of those two,
because they even remark that they look different now, the black ones. It's like the characters even say something's different about these ones or whatever, and everyone can see them. Which is different. So,
but anyway, that's most of my
what
notes.
You've digested. Okay, so here's what I've come up with so far, both just reflecting on it and watching other people talk about it and kind of piecing these things together, which is like why I love getting into these games when they're, try to stop me from playing a new Final Fantasy game anyway, but still. added bonus is like listening to all these discussions and figuring out my own version of what I think happens or what things mean and stuff.
It's like insert meme of Charlie from
yes, 1,000. I was literally gonna make that joke. That's like what I've been like for the last 2 weeks. Charlie with Pepe Sylvia. Okay, where do I start with this? So, okay, so first of all, when he comes down and you think you save her or whatever, there's moments when it's like glitching out and you see him talking, but you don't hear
what's that.
Okay,
that's
so I think you're witnessing in real time. He's going through what he went through with Zack dying, where he thinks he saved her. He's convinced he saved her, but obviously he didn't, because it flashes back and you see Sephiroth and blood on his sword. And it's even like Sephiroth is like almost annoyed with Cloud. He's like, no, I fucking killed her. Be sad about it. And he's just like, he's clearly wrestling with something. There's like, because we talk about there's all the camera shots being deliberate. There's a point where he picks his sword up and like does the thing to like get the blood off in Cloud's face. He's like, here's her fucking blood. I killed her. Snap out of it, you dumb shit. And so what I think happened is like, he said, because he gives us like a little speech when she dies in the original, like, she'll never laugh, cry, get angry, like all that stuff that he says. Yeah. And I think he did that. He, in this moment, he said and felt all of that. But in typical Cloud fashion, he like immediately like forgets that and like, no, I blocked the sword. I saved her.
Yeah.
And because when it glitches, because I watched it a few times now, when it glitches back and forth and you see him talking but not hearing, you can see blood on her. And when it's back to him just looking at her or whatever, and especially when he starts talking to her, there's no blood. And even when the party runs up and sees that she's dead, you see him like holding her hand up to his face, all bloody, but eyes are closed. And then it cuts back to him and he's talking to her.
What he sees. Yeah, exactly.
So,
so what, it'd be interesting because, when it would glitch to him, like, it's like not talking, but rather almost like a no, this isn't happening right now kind of thing. Like what's he saying? And almost like going back to a Crisis Core when Zack dies to kind of see, are there kind of some parallels with that? Or
if you in OG7 when she dies and he like catches her, he literally gives like a speech. He's like, because Sephiroth's saying like, oh, don't cry, whatever, and he's like, shut up, I don't care about your plan. Aerith's dead. My mouth is dry, like I'm something, and like she's never gonna laugh, she's never gonna cry again, and and that's my fault or something. I don't remember exactly, but he gives a big speech and he doesn't say any of that in this game.
No, and so you think that glitching out is him remembering that, or?
So I think I literally think he said it. He literally caught her because he saw the blood for a second, right? When it like glitches out after after he blocks it, and it's like I think he gave that speech, and then immediately was like, no, that didn't happen. She's not dead.
Okay, I see.
I saved her. Like it's like exactly when like he watched Zack die, and then minutes later he's like, no, I'm Zack, basically. And just like blocked it like completely, PTSD'd. I think we're seeing that happen in real time when this happens. To the point that so I do think, because you see the White Whisperer sort of swirling around when he is talking to her, and she's like, don't worry about it, whatever. I do think that's like her like spirit talking to him through the live stream, like she did in the first game when she's like in Shinra Tower, but you talking to her outside of her house. I do think it's like a version of that where, because the White Whispers are there. But then like the party, like I said, the party runs up and they see him talking to her, and she's dead. Like her eyes are closed and there's blood. And like I said, any of the clips where he's giving the speech that you can't hear, the blood is there. So it's like in that moment he knows she's dead. He knows she's dead because he, the blood and everything. And like little Sephiroth is like, wake the fuck up, you dumb bitch. Like, here's her blood. I just killed her. Like, snap out of it. Because he wants him to be angry and sad or whatever, right? So to the point that, and I do think when you're fighting with her at the very end, that's like, I call her like Aerith Prime, who's like the like all-knowing Aerith that has been like communicating to the Aerith we know. And that's like when she's talking on the beach about like the future me. I think she's talking about that one. So I do think that's her that you're fighting with, like the Aerith Prime, I call her. But cut to the end when they're all outside by that like body of water and they're all devastated, right? We skip him putting her in the lake.
Because there's no scene of that.
Because he's like, well, that didn't happen. She's not dead. Why would I put her in the lake? So we don't even get to. It's like we want the closure of having that speech and that scene, and Sephiroth's like, go fuck yourself. You don't get that.
Well, and like just Zack or Cloud is just be in complete denial again,
because he's like looking over and smiling and talking to her.
Yeah,
and no one, obviously no one else sees her, and like Tifa's crying, like they obviously, and it's like, again, I think he did it. Like I think he had that moment, and because like where's her body, right? So he definitely he did do the thing where he like walked her out and put her in the water, and then sat down and was like glitch, like, so what, like, and that's why they're like, we should probably go. And he's like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sounds good, let's go. And then that's when like Tifa's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because she watched him just do this sort of like burial of sorts of her, and then just be like, all right, let's go. Because like he already forgot that happened where he put her into the water. Which, by the way, I think when we get to part 3 and we do like the repair Cloud's mind part,
we'll repair that part too.
We'll see that entire sequence. I think we're gonna get that cutscene in part 3 when he remembers and comes to terms with the fact that, oh, she did die, and like I put her into
Zach.
the water. Right. I think it'll be. I think that will be part of like repairing his brain. And the other thing why I'm saying he's in denial about her death is like in Advent Children, he does have like a moment or two where he like kind of hears from her when he's like unconscious or whatever. And it's like he's aware that he's talking to her spirit because she's dead. And that's why he's so like sad in Advent Children, because he knows she's dead. The only way he's talking to her is in the live stream or whatever, but that doesn't mean she's alive. Like, and that's why he so beats himself up about it. But it's like in this one, he's like, yeah, let's go, we're good, she's right there, she's not dead, I saved her, like we're fine. And so we
I should go snowboarding in the North Korea.
Right. Yeah, right.
It kind of adds now to that.
Right. And let me see here. Yeah, he should, if he knew it was her spirit, then he would be more sad because of Advent Children. Okay, so this is the part that like there's lots of differing opinions, but I heard Max talk about this, and I'm pretty convinced this is what's happening. So every time he interacts with her after that battle with Sephiroth, like, and after the White Whispers or whatever, when when he's like standing outside, you see moments where like he's standing by her, and then you see like from Tifa's perspective, like she's obviously not there, right? Like, so it's like he's the only one seeing her. She acts strange in those last couple scenes. And I think the biggest evidence of this is so much of the game is spent with like Tifa and Aerith both telling Cloud to like just like take care of yourself, get some rest, like don't worry about this stuff, like please just be like take care of your own health or whatever. And when in the very, very end, like everyone's getting on the plane.
And Cloud's like, you good? Or like, you'll be okay?
And he's like, don't worry, we're gonna go fight Sephiroth. And she's like, you promise? And it's like, the real Aerith would be like, don't, like, you're messed up, don't go to Sephiroth, he's gonna take control of you. But she's like, oh, will you please go take care of Sephiroth? And she says, don't worry, I'll stop the meteor. Well, the meteor hasn't been summoned yet. It actually that hasn't, because Cloud has the black materia, meteor hasn't been started, because they haven't given it to the like real Sephiroth or whatever. So I honestly think, and after listening to like Max especially, but other people talk about this, I'm pretty sure it's either, I think it's Genova is making Cloud see Aerith. I don't think that's the like spirit version of Aerith that he's seeing.
Maybe like Genova is realizing, look, the only way like to really get Cloud to do what I want him to do, it's not
Sephiroth
anymore.
because he's too afraid of him or whatever, and it didn't work before or whatever. So I genuinely think that it's like Jenova manipulating Cloud, and that version of Aerith is not actual Aerith, especially because it's like, don't worry, I'm gonna go fight this guy that keeps fucking me up. And she's like, oh yeah, promise. And then what's the tagline? Like, no promises to keep. Or whatever. Right? And so there's other things why I think this is a thing. There's a moment with Tifa, Cloud, and Aerith talking, and it cuts to that scene with Rufus and Glenn when you find out, oh, that was just a fucking vision basically from Jenova too. And so I feel like that's deliberate because it's a really weird cut to go to that scene, and it's like, Jenova manipulated you into starting a war with Wutai again. And Cloud is like so fucked up after watching her die that it's just like the easiest person to mold right now, right?
Oh yeah, like it's like, oh, remember how fucked up you got when Zack died and your hero Sephiroth destroyed your village? How about
this?
How about this? Yeah. Now you're the perfect clay to mold, and I know that I can manipulate you with, your hero Sephiroth, your Aerith, and anyway,
and the fact that it's Jenova Life Clinger, kind of makes it that has like implications of like, oh, Aerith died, give me that. Like, let me do something with that now that. And so here's another thing. In OG7, that's not the case. Like, Aerith is not being, or, portrayed by Jenova or whatever. When, in that scene when she dies, you fight Jenova, and it's just the Aerith theme. When that whole boss fight is Aerith theme. Well, what happens in this fight? You start with Aerith's theme, and it slowly turns into Jenova's theme. And
true.
I think that's like Jenova like taking over like the memory of Aerith or whatever in at least in Cloud's. And another thing is, as soon as you start that fight with Jenova, regardless of your party composition, your other two party members immediately have full limit break, and Cloud does not.
Oh, interesting.
And so like they're pissed off that Aerith's dead, and Cloud's like, no, she's fine. We got this fight is just a normal fight. His limit break is like empty, and everyone else's is full.
Oh, that's a good catch.
And what else was there? Life Clinger, Jenova's. I wrote the Jenova theme consumes Aerith's theme during that fight.
Nice, good wording.
Because I feel like they didn't fully pay off, which they've repeated many times about, which was they were alluding that it would be with Tifa, where Jenova takes the forms of the ones you love. And I forget the wording, but it's like they say that phrase more than once.
And several times, Tifa is just like, you think I'm an imposter? It's like, Sephiroth is the shape-shifting imposter you keep seeing. Like, it's not Tifa. And now it's consuming the other one you love, whatever.
Right.
So
at least that's what I think. Like, they didn't fully. It seemed like they were going to do, like, they were going to, like, make Tifa they were going to, like, Jenova would use Tifa to manipulate Cloud into doing something, and it never really did. It was just Sephiroth making him think that she was an imposter. And so I think it would make sense that, and if we've learned anything, it's that Sephiroth is fucking with us all the time.
All the time.
And it would make perfect sense for him to make you think Tifa's the imposter, and then just like slip Aerith in, as the actual imposter. While your guard is down or whatever.
Well, even like I remember I feel like it was the trailer that we did a reaction video to. The Japanese version had like some wording about just like, you know, which becomes much more obvious as you play the game, where Sephiroth is kind of saying like, I killed Tifa.
Right. Who is she or whatever?
Who is she? Yeah, exactly. And that's the misdirect of like, I killed Aerith. I want you to think that I'm being a puppet master on the Tifa side of things while I make a Aerith doppelganger and manipulate you when my Sephiroth manipulation has reached its max.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just fucking with us.
Yeah.
And what's really exciting about part 3 is that like Cloud is so fucked up right now.
Oh,
like
God.
hiding the black materia, like acting like nothing's wrong. He clearly thinks he saved Aerith. You know, and they're setting him up for it's going to be devastating when he fails at a critical moment. Like what basically is I think will be when he gives him the black materia. Because and I think it was Max again that said this, that like it would be really cool if they like change his like play style in the beginning of part 3 where he's like way like more brutal and like more violent, and then like after the awakening happens and they repair him, he like goes back to like, you know, Rebirth play style or something.
Cecil kind
yes,
of
100%. Yeah, it is 100% like a Dark Knight into Paladin moment that he's gonna have, and it's gonna be brutal for how like at what point is and how are they gonna portray him like falling eventually like to all of this, and because he's just so sketchy right now.
Man,
clearly Sephiroth has just got their hooks in him and really like manipulating him. And now for it to be like, you know, with Sephiroth, it's more like he's trying to fight that, but it's like with Aerith, if she is indeed being like, you know, if they're manipulating him with Aerith as a form of Genova or whatever, it's like, man, she could get him to do just about anything. And he wouldn't even question it, right? He wouldn't even think twice.
And what was I going to say? I think that totally tracks because like he's got the black materia. He's super sketchy right now. I would love it like, you know how his play style was noticeably different from remake to here. Like the Punisher mode is very different. And just his Punisher mode in part 3 would be more brutal, kind of akin to the Prime mode, you know, or something of just like
exactly
very like in cutscenes where he would clearly be like, you know, breaking the rules of Final Fantasy and like actually, you know, killing people instead of just like slashing
at them. I think there's potential for like that kind of like uncomfortable Cloud interactions. We're like, man, what is wrong with him right now?
Like kind of like stabs instead of like, you know,
which he did a couple times when like he went like Sephiroth mode.
That's what I mean. Kind of like intent to kill rather than disarm or whatever. And almost like, anyway, predictions for part 3. I really like that, where it's kind of like it's a Dark Knight to Paladin transformation, 100%. And you know you're playing with him where it's like, I don't like this. Like, it's like this makes me uncomfortable. I'm gonna play with Tifa and Sid. Sid's new. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit of it. Like Cloud's default build makes me uncomfortable, and I bet you even his like posture and his stats will be more very, you know. Anyway, I'm sure they'll. And then there's an enlightenment moment, or you know.
That'll be when they like repair him in the live stream, and I like I'll put money on it. We're gonna see Aerith's death scene again in part 3 when they're repairing his mind, and we're gonna see that speech he gives.
The real version.
See him exactly put her into the water. You know, because yeah, there's just no way. I fully believe that's what happened. Is like he just did what he did with Zach, and we just saw it happen. He's like, no, I saved her. Like she's fine. And someone pointed out, and this could just be like coincidence, but like the way he's holding when the party sees him talking to like a dead body.
Yeah.
The way he's holding her like hand up to his face is like the way Sephiroth was holding Genova's hand on the boat before he summoned her. In like almost exact same pose.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So like it could be coincidental, but it could, it could be because the reason I don't know if that's true is because I still think that is Aerith in that moment. Like, I don't think it's Genova at that point.
Yeah, no, that's still Aerith.
So that's the only reason why I don't know if that would be true. But anyway, and after the white whispers go away and her body or he sets her down and they fight Genova. It's, again, life clinger. I bet they defeat that Genova and she's just like, okay, I'm just gonna move over to the, and just like absorb or not because her body would still be there, but it's like I'm just gonna get a good look at this body and this is what I'm gonna use now or something.
Maybe it's kind of a misdirect of, Cloud is clearly clinging on to this life. No, that's not the meaning of the word. It's that I am going to cling on to this entity and manipulate Cloud using it.
Yeah, something like that.
One thing I'll say, and feel free to disagree, is that I do think Aerith is, and maybe it's your version of Aerith Prime or whatever, but like Aerith is alive in a timeline and I think is trying to merge worlds for altruistic reasons instead of whatever. And so I feel like the Aerith that will be in part 3 is not just the Genova doppelganger, but also like Aerith is also trying to help in a different timeline, I think.
I fully expect to at least get a vision of her like through the live stream in some form once he's repaired or something, or maybe she helps repair him. Maybe she's the one that's with him actually maybe like Tifa doesn't even fall down there with him. And maybe he goes into the live stream.
Her in the live stream. Yeah.
And then she walks him through everything. Like, no, I died. Like like look at this. Like this happened. The only reason why I don't know if it would be more than a spirit, and this is again we can just disagree. Is the way like that scene in the church when like Sephiroth comes in behind. I honestly think he's just going to every timeline
and disposing of her. Yeah, exactly.
And because when you get to the fight, the very last fight with him and Aerith, he says something like, Sephiroth says something like, "Oh, okay, I underestimated you."
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's like, "Okay, you have to die now in every timeline or whatever."
And I guess we could both be right because I could be saying she's alive in other timelines, and like, yeah, she is, and then Sephiroth goes and realizes that
might be what he's doing during part 3 is killing off all the other versions of her or something.
Yeah, realizing there are multiple worlds, but Aerith is a problem in all of them, and I only managed to kill her in this timeline. So
he even said something like that wasn't fair, or like that you broke the rules, or he said something like that, and then it's like because she's so fucking powerful, she gave Cloud in a dream the materia that he was able to bring with him into his world. And he's so he said something like, that wasn't very nice or whatever. So it's like, I think Sephiroth realizes now, it's like, she's going to be the thing that stops. Like I need to cut her off because she's the one that...
I need to take care of that. I need to nip this in the bud before I'm going to be able to do my bigger plan. But so I do think she is alive and aware of multiple timelines. In a timeline, whether it's one of the golden retriever version of Stamp, there are an infinite number of timelines. So I think she's alive in one of them and aware that there are multiple timelines and that she needs to help the lightest timeline.
Sure.
But does Sephiroth realize that and kill her and all these? So, anyways, those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think I think there are more timelines than we saw, and I think that's a safe assumption.
We'll say there's at least 7 because it's thematic.
Yeah, exactly.
At least 7 that we'll see.
That we'll see. Yeah, it's 7 that are the most relevant.
Yeah.
And I bet you Aerith is kind of going to be more. What's the word I'm looking for? Like just has a plan in one of them that helps to fix the main timeline, and Sephiroth may or may not be wise to this and trying to interfere. So yeah.
Yeah. So
one very quick question.
Yeah.
Do you know, is there any like the whole like 7 seconds to the end comment that he says, does that mean anything more to you now? Or
so I think when I rewatch the ending, I'm pretty sure the second you look up and see him, I'm pretty sure it's like almost exactly 7 seconds before you interfere.
Okay.
Because I was conscious of that. I didn't the first time. I was fucking messed, so I wasn't paying attention. But I was specifically thinking about that when I got there on my second playthrough, and I'd have to look again. But I'm almost certain. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna look at this really fast. That was loud. Hold on.
What are you looking at?
I have the footage of that I use. I'm gonna actually just look at it right now to see if it's 7 seconds. Fact check on the spot. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like, well, there's a little bit of slow-mo there, and I was counting maybe a little fast. I think that's what it is. It's almost exactly 7 seconds as when you look up and see him until you go to block.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So I think it might be that.
Okay. Yeah. So all this makes sense. I like kind of where this is. I really like the Jenova manipulating Cloud via an Aerith. I would love it. I mean, there probably is not this, but if there's any sort of like, like the purpley dust that you see around Sephiroth when he's
like manifesting
with a black cloak, it's like, oh, maybe there is some green or white kind of dust in any of the Aerith scenes like that, and I'm sure there is. There's Mako flying everywhere all the time. Right?
There's a shot right at the end, I think, when she's like looking up when they're flying away, or right before she says something to him. This could just be lighting or whatever, but I swear there's like a moment where there's like a red sort of coloration in her eyes when, in that last CG cutscene. But that could just be a glint of something, or could be the tiny Bronco reflection in her or something.
Yeah.
So that might be a reach, but to me, it's more what she says. That's sort of a giveaway that she's like, why would she tell you to go after Sephiroth? Like,
well, and promise it when the whole thing is about no promises to keep and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I like that.
And a couple of the lines she has, like, this could just be them being cute, but it's like there's a lot of lines that are very much parallel to like how they were talking in Remake. Like, oh well, I'll she's what was it like? Oh well, when he was gonna escort her back, and it's like, well, what if something happens? And it's like, well, I'll come with you, or have some, and like that could be just like a cute exchange, but it could also just be like Jenova knows, like Jenova knows that this is how you kind of started to feel feelings for her in this moment. So
I looked at the library of relevant things that affected Cloud by you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do think it's like super manipulative, if that's what it is, right? Just to
I mean,
call back
to
those moments.
to aluminum hat this a little bit, like if Genova is all about like um tapping into previous memories, and all those kind of things. Like, hey, I know that Cloud has these memories of Aerith, and this stuff is what made him feel something previously.
So I don't know. Well, yeah, I guess it's not necessarily said that she can only like shapeshift into things that have her cells, right? Because with the Cetra, they said that Genova would just take forms of people that died, and that's how she like manipulated the Cetra or whatever. Like literally during that big sequence in the Temple of the Ancients, like I think it said like it would take the forms of their loved ones and fallen comrades or whatever. And so I don't think it's like, because I was thinking, is she just making Cloud think all this stuff, or did she's like, it's not like she's like puppeting Aerith's body.
No,
But
nor do I think Genova is possessing black cloaks to look like Aerith, because otherwise,
right,
Tifa and Barrett would be like, the hell's black?
They would probably see them, or at least see the road person.
That's what I mean. They see the road person. I mean, mind you, they may be kind of numb to all the black cloaks walking around now, so they may just be like, oh, there's another one.
But like when Cloud's talking to her outside like the temple, and you literally see a shot, it's like Cloud and Aerith, and it cuts to Tifa, and you see from her perspective, exact same angle, and Aerith's not there. So clearly, like Cloud is, and when he's sitting out on the grass at the very end, when he's looking down like at the materia, she's not walking around, and as soon as he looks up to see what they're doing, then she's walking around. Like she's only there when he's like looking over there for the most part, at least.
And maybe like Cloud is so far gone that's like you don't even need a black cloak to manipulate him anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
They might just be like imprinting it in his brain because he's so fucked up now.
Yeah, exactly. I can just make you see things instead of
So anyway, that's
when's the third one coming out?
This is what I've been like stewing on for the last like 2.5 weeks. And and I genuinely like not having the answer.
I agree.
It fun for the next part. I think it's speculated heavily that the next part will be in 2027 because it'll be the 30th anniversary of the original game.
Ooh, nice.
So I guarantee that's on like a milestone
yeah
project board somewhere in their office. Like we this is what we want to do. Whether it comes together, but and I think it's possible. I don't think this, because of how much insanely more complex and big Rebirth was to remake, I understand why they did it in 4 years during a fucking pandemic. Like that's insane. It should have taken longer by all logistics. So I don't think the jump from part 2 to part 3 will be as insane just in terms of gameplay structure. So I think a 3-year wait is like realistic, and
this wait seemed, I mean, the first few months after remake seemed tough, but like this didn't seem that long.
Right. But, it was less time between remake and this than it was to the announcement to remake.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So
and like something that I thought of a lot in this game is like almost like remake to me is still such a huge achievement because they used so much of that in this. Like it's kind of like, do you need to do a character model for Cloud? Not really. Touch it up. Like voice actor, like you figured that out. You figured out the gameplay. Like
remake, and I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like remake was a
we had to build the foundation.
Yeah, and kind of like a risky project. Like I bet you there was like this could be amazing or everyone could fucking hate it.
Yeah. And well, that's why they were outsourcing most of the development for like 2 years.
Okay.
Like Cyber Connect something, and they were like, "This isn't good enough. We're gonna do it," and they had to like start over from scratch. Like so, realistically, Remake only took them about 2.5 years. Like the concept and the story was probably all figured out. You know, that work could have transferred over, but they had to rebuild the actual game assets and stuff.
Yeah.
And this game would not exist if this was not a multi-part series. Like, in terms of like the complexity, the amount of mini games, the battle system, how in depth it is, there's no way you would be able to do all of that and do the entire story of this game.
Oh God, no!
It would be. It would not be a good game. It would be way too fast. It would it's like it's easier to digest the story beats faster. I think maybe in the original game because it's like more limited in terms of its presentation, and so it just leaves more time. I don't know, but there's no way this game would exist in its current form if this was not a multi. So any of those people that were like, multi-part, that's dumb, they can fucking suck a dick now because this game is incredible.
People who were angry that the first game was only Midgar, and it's just like, do you realize now like how perfect this game is? And it's because like, anyway, whatever genius or geniuses, whatever, who are like, we're splitting it up because like because we want to dig deep into this and like world build and that kind of stuff. So like there's that, but then like no, because like I know technologically like we can't do everything right now. So like let's give a taste, and I know that in like 4 years we'll be like and let's prove that this is what people want, and then we'll make the fucking epic that is Rebirth kind of thing. And so like and I can't articulate this quite well, but it's kind of like Rebirth is perfect because Remake was so ambitious. And like just like I remember seeing a lot of lead up to Remake of like the whole while you're fighting and you hit X and it's kind of the super slow-mo thinking of your ATB and things like that, and just like that alone, the battle system, like of course they modified with some synergy stuff, but like it's very similar.
The foundation was figured out in Remake so that they could just improve and like innovate certain systems and just make things feel better, like little things like making clouds like air dash. Aerial combat is way better in this game than it was in Remake. It was awful. And it's just like, if this was their first try, all of those problems would be in this massive game, and it would lessen the whole thing.
It'd be clunky. Like it's perfect because this game was polishing a pretty good foundation already. It's just so amazing. So I think like an example of like going from two games that I love, Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2, let's say. Those combat systems are similar, but pretty wildly different. And I'm not saying that they said, 13 was bad, so we need to improve it dramatically. But like,
no, they took what was good about it. Like I love the paradigm system personally, but I know that's not as an unpopular opinion. But everyone loves stagger. Clearly they put it in 16, they put it in 7 Remake. Like they took a note that people like this part of the combat. And even like the game structurally it's so fun. I was just like biting my tongue when Remake was out to like not argue this point because no one wants to hear 13 arguments anymore. But like the game structure of 7 Remake is quite similar to 13, and everyone bitched the hell out of that game for being too linear. 7 Remake is very linear.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's literally point A to point B with some sprinkled side quests in there, but it's not, it's very linear sorting, which I love because you get these big set piece cutscene moments in between, and that's what I like about 13.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the reasons why I don't like Lightning Returns as much story wise, because that one's a little more, you can go do things in different order, and so you don't get that really like heavy narrative through line.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I was just like, don't tell people it's like 13. No one wants to hear it. when I was playing Remake, but it's like, they now they improved it. It's not like I said, they sprinkled side quests and mini games and like little distractions. So yeah, I just feel like, I mean, Final Fantasy from one to the next is always very different anyway, but they definitely like take note of like things that tend to be popular and maybe like use a version of that, and like even just people like turn-based battle, but this game would be weird if it was only turn-based because it feels so much better as an action game. So let's just do both of those things.
Yeah.
And
like and I kind of bring it up because like 13 to 13.2, it was like, oh, it was a pretty big change in the battle system. Kept the things that were good and yada yada yada.
Yeah, they made it so you could switch who you're controlling. You could tell your party to only attack one thing or attack everything. Like, it definitely improved. And even when you switch paradigms, it does like the full party switch instead of the one by. You know what I mean? Like they just like, okay, let's just polish that up a little bit onto this game.
And like going from Remake to Rebirth, there's clearly some polishing, but like it's pretty similar, and just like meaning they did a pretty good job on the first pass. The synergy, there's a lot of improvement. So all I'm kind of saying is like I can see why this game is so huge, because they were like, we did a pretty good job giving us, like, they've got, when it says, hey, make a Final Fantasy VII remake, you've got the story and the names of people, but you really don't have anything to start with. Whereas Rebirth, hey, okay, what does Cloud look like? Copy paste. Okay, that's done. Let's write a cool story. Let's write a fucking 20-minute gold saucer intro sequence. Like, okay, cool. We've got all the character models now, so like I can kind of see how they could make a much bigger game, knowing that they weren't starting from scratch. I guess that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
And I've in some developer interviews, a lot of people on the team said like the project management of this game was incredibly well handled.
Oh yeah.
And just it shows just how many different, like, someone probably worked for like 9 months on Queen's Blood.
Yeah, no.
Like just designing that game was probably almost a year of like a team of developers' life. And that wouldn't happen if you had to spend those 9 months figuring out what Tifa's gonna look like.
No.
So
there are so many parts of this game where I thought like the lead on this probably has no clue that this was a part of the game. It's like the lead, the project manager of Fort Condor probably has no idea that Queen's Blood existed until the game came out. Like they were in 2 different buildings. There are so many parts of this game where it's like, these are so orthogonal. Like it's just, hey, then there's the manager of the mini game aspect, and he had a team of 30 people who had 30 people underneath them, kind of thing. Like
figuring out what kind of music is gonna play during this pirate shooting game.
Or like this okay, like let's say director Kitase, who's top.
Nomura is like creative director. I think Kitase is like game director. I think it was like mostly him at for this game. Nomura, I think, was more in the director role in Remake.
Okay. But anyway, Kitase, just whatever.
I think Kitase is probably like who made a lot of the decisions for this game.
Let's say Kataze like meeting, and he's like, okay, I want 50 different mini games in Rebirth. Ha 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 ha.
This is not a joke.
I'm not joking. It's like, okay, Fort Condor, that's one. Keep going.
Yeah.
Another version of the squat contest. Sure, that's two, but make it different. Keep going. I guess a card game. Okay, here's a team of 50 people. You have 2 years. Make it happen. It just like, all right, folks, we've got 47 more to go. Like, what else you got?
Speaking of that, one point a little Easter egg I forgot to mention. Red 13 in that fucking soccer mini game.
Oh, I love that game.
I didn't realize it until probably my second playthrough. I was like, oh, this is a wink at the fact that you can kick a soccer ball in his face in the first game.
Right. Oh man, I got no clue. And it was like pretty brutal.
Yeah. And he would bark at you when you did it. And I was like, that is 100% a nod to that moment. Is like, no, let's give him a fucking mini game, multi-stage mini game for that like one little joke.
Oh man, that's awesome. So okay, back to my original game dev.
That's why I was thinking about it. Yeah.
I bet you it's just like, okay, I want 50 mini games. Ha ha ha. I'm not joking. So are you guys done laughing? Anyway, and I want them to have some sort of tie, even if very minute, to the OG in some sort of way. Sir, that's ridiculous. All right. I'll see you later. Good luck. I'll see you in a year. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, just uncompromising fan service and nostalgia.
That's a good word for it. It's like uncompromising. Yeah.
The
meme of like Jurassic Park, like, oh, spare no expense. Like that's what this game is, man.
Yeah.
There was no limit on the budget for this one.
And I feel like they'd proven themselves with Remake.
100%. Yeah. And that's another reason why this game wouldn't exist in its form if it wasn't multi-part and that they didn't nail the first part. Because it was like, and for me especially, it was like, going into Remake, I was like, before we saw anything about it, it's like, man, who knows what this game could be bad. Like, how can you possibly match the expectations that everyone has for this game? And seeing the footage when they, at E3 before, the year before it came out, I was like, oh, this looks kind of good. Holy shit. But there's still some worry. Like, you don't know, it ends at Midgar. Like, how are you going to make that into a 40-hour game? And they did that, and they nailed that part. So it's like, by the time it was like time for Rebirth, I was like, yeah, do whatever you want. I will buy it, and I'm going to love it. You've proven me from Remake that I'm going to love whatever the fuck you put out for the next one and the next one. So just give it to me when it's ready, and I'll consume the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Which I did.
And I don't know, and there's something about like the artwork and the kind of blue, yellow, red kind of, I don't know, it just kind of has like
this one Remake was like green, this one is red. I think there was a shot there was some shot where it was like green, red, blue. I think it was like Cloud Sephiroth Zack or something. And so someone's like, oh, the logo of the third game is going to be blue.
Okay.
But that was Crisis Core's color, kind of. So I don't know if that's what the blue was for that. But yeah, I'm sure there's some significance there that I'm not. Well, I guess the black materia is kind of red. So and Meteor is red. It could be like a clear. Yeah.
Anyway, I just because I got like the deluxe one or whatever with like the metal case and all sorts of stuff, and like just like, oh, this is just, I don't know, just the color scheme is just very visually pleasing. I don't know, this game is just so perfect. A few other very quick things that I'll mention. I noticed, and I looked into it after. It's kind of funny. Like the day before, like I think I So I got it on like the Thursday, and then like I had the weekend with friends, and then I think on Monday on the weekend I was like, okay, well I gotta feel like this is gonna be a beast to install. So like the Sunday night before I would play it on Monday, like, oh, install like the install disc. This
Yeah.
game's fucking massive. It needs two
Yeah.
PS5 discs. Um, put that in, install, and then like bring like remake patch. And I was like, what's remake doing with a patch? And
Oh, I think I heard about this. There's like
and
a
then
line of dialogue that was changed.
it's Aerith at the end.
Okay.
And so I looked it up and I was like, what was this remake patch? Should I go and play remake again? And it's like, no, here's the only thing that was changed. Like literally before 2 seconds before roll credits, she says like, I miss it, the steel sky.
Right.
Which I really like that line. That line was changed to it's like the sky, like I hate it, or something like that. And it's like, why did they deliberately make that? And it's like I think it's a more literal translation to the Japanese kind of version.
Okay.
And the sky being
It's all fucked
broken.
up.
Yeah, like don't
Not
look
in
up.
their timeline, but she obviously knows that it's in like the other one or something.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Huh.
mean,
I heard about that, but I didn't know what line was changed and to what.
yeah, and so like I think it's the same meaning, let's say. Like she doesn't like whenever she would look up, it was the metal sky, and now she's
Yeah,
seeing the
she's out
real
of her
sky.
comfort zone or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like it has a little bit of extra meaning of
Yeah.
like, oh, you know what? It's not just about metal versus sky. There's something kind of unsettling about it in general. And so why did they, it's like, I remember being like, remake patch, like, did I see that right? It wasn't like the yellow and red. It was like the black and green. Like, did I just read that wrong? No, it's a remake patch. Don't know what they're doing in my remake game, but clearly they're doing something. Should I play this game again? And
Sure.
that's when I kind of looked it up and like, oh shit, new.
Okay.
Thankfully I didn't look that up until like, you know, after playing Rebirth and like, oh, okay, it's talking about the sky. The sky's all fucked up in the weird timeline.
Right.
But now I was like, oh man, that has a little bit more meaning now.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention that. And then also, I hit this problem that apparently a lot of people hit, where there was a patch for Rebirth that almost fucked me over, because in the second gold saucer,
Oh, the bike.
the bike, exactly.
I heard about this, but
Yeah.
I think I cleared that before.
Before, yeah. So no, I didn't. And so what had happened, and I think this is the reason for the error, is like I hit a pretty decent score of the bike.
Oh, sure. And then when you redo it as the quest, it like won't count it.
Yeah. So I hit a decent score in my first gold saucer visit, and then so and like so it was like I hit 34,000, and it was 30,000 to accomplish the party animal whatever quest. And so I get over 30,000, and it's just like, do it again. And I was like, what the hell? I did it. And I was like, oh, maybe
I need to like beat your old score.
And so I still did that. I was like, okay, I got 34,100. Like, Jesus Christ, by the skin of my teeth here. Still no. So like, just you needed to be below it and hit it. Like I think like I don't know anything about game design, but like my guess is that like the patch, I don't know what the patch did, but now it's like, you need to go over a certain number in order for this to trigger. And if you're already over it, it'll never trigger, because you need to start below it and go above it. That's what will trigger the achievement. And if you're already above it, you'll never
how did you complete it?
I uninstalled the game.
Oh, I did it without the patch?
Without the patch. Because I saw on Reddit this is how you had to do it.
Yeah.
Uninstalled the game.
Good luck. Good thing you had physical then.
Yeah, it said you couldn't do it with digital. So
Yeah.
uninstalled the game. Patch comes up, stop, nope, don't do it.
Yeah.
And then reinstall the game, 2 discs, all that stuff, like a couple hours later.
Sure.
Uh, played the bike game. Okay, party animal, whatever. Install the patch, all's good. So I remember being like, "Fuck this!" Like I was super pissed.
I'm
But
sure they'll fix that. Yeah.
they will. But I wanted to do this quest
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. You wanted it now.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was pretty happy with myself for looking that up and finding that out.
Sure.
But that thanks to the Reddit community for giving me the confidence to do it, because they're like, I think this will be fine. My save file is there. This seems risky, but there's a point of me that was just like, look, if this shoves me all the way back to point number one, whatever. Like, I'll do it again. Like I was like, will I be angry? Maybe for a second, and then I'll say like, oh well, guess I'm just playing this game again.
Yeah.
It was fun. And
Um.
kind of funny though.
Yeah. I heard about that one. I didn't know exactly what it was, but yeah, I'm sure that'll get fixed.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. This will be a probably 3-parter. So I'll chop it up into, digestible points. Obviously it's our game of the year, and that's not changing. Even with the 14 expansion coming out this year, there's no way anything will top how I felt about Rebirth.
Or the 16 expansion, or the
Oh yeah, 16. That's like like 2 weeks or something. The 16 DLC.
Yeah, I've again Tekken, and that we'll just have to wait.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, game of the year for me. It's just it's such an important franchise, and
I could not believe that it just kept delivering on all of its side quests, and everything was just such high quality. It's insane. So the final question I have before we finish off here is, what is the third part going to be called?
Good question. Do you have an idea? Give me a minute to think about it.
I had the meme answer is Revengeance, but it's not going to be that.
No.
And someone made a good point that it's like it usually has to do with what Sephiroth wants. So remake was him remaking the timeline.
Yeah.
Rebirth is like bringing worlds together, and like the rebirth of a new universe for him or whatever.
I've remade it, and I'm gonna rebirth a new fate, a new out.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be something that he wants. I was thinking like reclamation, but I feel like it has to have a re sound, so maybe just reclaim. Could be one.
I was like, resolution is, I think, too much of an easy answer.
Sure. And I think it has to be has to remake, rebirth.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah.
Reclaim.
Revenge is too easy. I don't think it's that. Especially for a final one, like for the final part.
That seems too cheesy. Yeah. No, like re-engage, re.
Yeah, I don't know. Reclaim was the best one I could think of that starts with that sound.
I really like Reclaim. I think that's good.
Won't be Reunion because that's Crisis Core. I don't think it'll be Reunion. I don't think they would use that again.
Yeah, is there something that's close to Reunion adjacent would be cool? It has to be kind of vague too, right? Like, what does this mean? That's is there a reunion or
I don't know. Reclaim was the best I could come up with.
I like that a lot. If I think of something, we can say it on the next pod.
But it'll be Revengeance.
Yeah, exactly.
Co-developed by Platinum Games.
Yeah, exactly. And with oh man, what's his name? Sorry.
Raiden.
Yeah, Raiden. Yeah.
Raiden, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway, yeah. Well, We'll see. We'll wait to see what the next one's going to be called. But yeah, it's for vengeance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll put this together in a couple parts. I'll split them up and I'll get them out probably like 1 week apart or something. But yeah, that was fun. I'm glad this is like, I think all told, that's probably about 5 hours worth of discussion.
I mean, I could talk for hours more. Like
yeah.
I just
I feel like I was truncating my notes because I knew we were going to be going this long. So yeah, I'm sure we'll inevitably land on an FF7 tangent on a future podcast. So we'll cover stuff that we missed, I'm sure.
And this is nice to kind of get this out so that in my replay in hard, I kind of have
some perspective on that
perspective.
Stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's a good point.
So, but I love this game so much. It's
unbelievable.
And it's like a perfect time for it to come out too. Like, yeah, it's winter, there's not much going on. Like, I'm just so happy playing this game. Like,
like I have no memory of March.
Yeah.
Like March just deleted from my calendar.
And like, I remember in our Game of the Year episode, I talked about like, oh, was there a game that you played that was just like, you can't really focus at work because you're thinking about it all day.
Yeah.
And like, this is 100% a problem for me right now. Like, I'll like find myself daydreaming a bit and I'm just like, God damn it. Like, do your job. Like,
it'll be a little easier now that you've beaten it because you're not like waiting to see what happens. Right. Yeah. So it's like, but you just want to play it and do more of the stuff that it has. So yeah, it'll still gnaw at you for a while.
There's like, honestly, I fucking love, so I have, L1 and triangle as my dive kick for Tifa. And like, I will do, hold triangle, uppercut, and dive kick to people all day long. I literally I'll do that. I get an ATB bonus. It staggers them. Okay. And it just fucking kills people. I've like decimated entire like combat sim people, just Tifa, like do that. I'll do a star shower so that like this will just really hit them the next time. I'll throw a chi trap in there, trap them while I'm doing this to them. Like Tifa,
so much fun.
Unstoppable. I love
her and Yuffie. I just love playing those two characters so much. I really like playing all of them. Like I genuinely rotated my characters around a lot because I just had so much fun playing the different styles. But when I really want to like, do some damage or whatever on some of those combat simulator, if I could pick my party, Tifa and Yuffie are just like so strong.
Oh yeah. I remember one of the like 10 rounders or whatever that I did, again, just like experience overload. Cloud, and like kind of one of his kind of ranged attacks kind of bring like everyone in. And so I do that and I start doing Punisher stuff. Like it was like 10 bandits. Just like Tifa, Barrett, you can kind of hang out. I got this. You can throw a synergy fire in there once in a while if you want.
I think I did that, and then I remember the exact one you're talking about. I think I did because I think it's you hold square. You do like a little whirlwind move, and that kind of brings them together. And then I think I did like Fire Blade or whatever that move is. He like hits them up in the air and just like blah, 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 like all the sounds of them dying. It's like, all right, that was easy.
I was like, okay, next. Like, fuck, I love this game. But anyway, okay. Well, let's release our viewers from our Final Fantasy VII clutches. But I love this game. I hope everyone watching has enjoyed us talking about it. But I've met a few friends that I've had for a long time that I didn't realize were Final Fantasy VII people, and just like it just makes me so happy to talk about this. So obviously with you is my favorite, but this is I loved every minute of this pod. So
same. This is what I needed. I've been sitting on this shit for like 2.5 weeks, so this was a good release for me. So yeah, we'll call it there. Let us know in the comments, if you agree or disagree with our ending theorizing. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. And if you want to see a grown man cry, I put that video. You can watch me lose my shit at that ending scene. So yeah, I think that's it. Thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, we'll catch you. I don't even know what we're gonna talk about in the next one, but we'll figure that out. It'll be a little bit from now, so maybe we'll talk about some of the trophy progress that and some of that stuff that you've made. And I might talk about some 16 DLC at that point. We'll see where you are. And I played the demo for Stellar Blade, and because I'm buying that when it comes out in April, and that game was super sick. So I'll probably have that to talk about too. But cool. Yeah, the next couple weeks will be these chunks of podcasts. But yeah, we'll get together soon again and talk about something other than Final Fantasy 7 for once. But
if that's even possible.
Yeah, it'll still creep its way in. So.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.